Grace and peace, St. Luke's flock, or St. Luke's room. This past Sunday, Pastor Elizabeth Palmer preached a wonderful sermon on Jesus the Good Shepherd, in which she said that maybe we should think about the flock not only in individual terms, you and me, but also in terms of St. Luke's, that we as a flock, as a congregation, are that way. And in our gospel for this coming Sunday, Jesus says, "In my house are many rooms." And again, we can think about a room for each of us. In our baptism, our room was ready for us, and we were ready for our room. But we can also think about a room in our Father's house as, again, a congregation, a Christian school, a social ministry organization. In our Father's house are many rooms. And so I want to talk to you today about one room in our Father's house, and that is a school, a Lutheran school in Palestine, in Beit Jala, which is near Bethlehem. The name of the school is Dar Klima, the house, the room of the Word. I was there with a delegation with Bishop Hansen. While we were there, we met with the mayor of Jerusalem, the president of Israel, about tax issues at the Augusta Victoria Hospital, which is a Lutheran hospital and the only primary healthcare facility for pediatrics in the West Bank. But we also met with Palestinian leaders. We met with Yasser Arafat, which was surreal, in Ramallah, and we met with Mahmoud Abbas, at that time their new president of the Palestinian Authority. And some of that conversation was around the place of Christians in the context of a Palestinian state. While we were there, we also had the opportunity to see what the Lutheran Church is doing in Palestine. And that was wonderful. Bishop Munib Yunan, then the bishop of the Church of Jordan in Palestine, the Lutheran Church, who himself is a wonderful bridge between Israel and Muslim Arabs in that country, well respected all around. So we went to this room in our Father's house, this school. And in the morning, we entered the outskirts of Bethlehem. A bulldozer is parked by the ruins of a house. A tank sits around the corner. This was during the time of another intifada, an uprising, and where there was a long curfew in the West Bank and continual skirmishes. And so we passed bombed buildings of the Palestinian Authority. On a hilltop, there are naked girders meant to be for a hotel to accommodate the millennial crowds who never came. And we drive up that hill to Dar al-Klima School. It means, as I said, house of the Word, one of the rooms of the many in our Father's house. In the schoolyard is a huge platform used by the Pope during his visit to Palestine and donated by Arafat to the school for their graduation. Kids are playing soccer. Like a shoot out of a stump, this school sits between two refugee camps. It was occupied twice by Israeli troops. Naida Karub, the principal, proudly speaks of the enlightened education philosophy, which aims to build rather than suppress personality and lifts up the arts and music. "Enter this room and live your dreams with us," says the sign at the entrance of the state-of-the-art computer room. This school year, the students were home for 42 days of curfew, and distance learning became an integral part of their education. One sign in the hallway reads, "Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent." Our Lutheran schools are one of the few places in Palestine, Israel, teaching nonviolence. There's a stark wood cross in the corner of the conference room where chapel is held each day. Each class takes turns leading the chapel. In this room, we learned about the hardship of a school under occupation. Random curfews disrupted planning. They would advertise on TV that school would resume within 30 minutes of the end of a curfew. Social workers were hired for traumatized children. Among the symptoms were stuttering and incontinence. In so many ways, this school, this room in our Father's house, has been a lifeline to young lives brutalized and traumatized by violence. Among the students are those from the refugee camps. The poorest of the poor are always welcome in this wondrous house of the word, Dar Klima. In the midst of many months of hardship and continuing poverty, the graduation was a joyful affirmation of life and achievement. Everyone wore bright colors. Flowers abounded. Political and religious leaders were prominent. Bagpipes accompanied the procession of graduates. The Palestinian anthem was sung. Valedictory speeches were in English, Arab, and German. In English, Samar Ganan spoke of their education in times of curfew and closure and said, "We must be the generation to build the Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital." The German valedictory address was given by Raffaella Fischer, whose father, a German doctor, was killed in the occupation. She spoke of peace and nonviolence, and people around me were in tears. Charlie Haddad, the director of schools for the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Jordan and Palestine, used 1 Corinthians 9:24 to frame his remarks. You must run in the same way, meaning to win. He said, "Today we meet to honor all these young runners who ran challenged by all kinds of difficult situations. Overcoming closures, checkpoints, curfews, their race was among rocks that made their feet bleed and among thorns that hurt their tiny bodies. Their race journey, especially throughout the year, was one of challenge and defiance. They challenged despair with hope, frustration with determination, and slavery with freedom. Day after day, they challenged fear, running and hiding between roads and streets, trying their best to reach school in order to meet for a class or sit for an exam. Our suffering and frustration goes on under this loathsome and horrible occupation. With hearts wavering between darkness and light, despair and hope, coercion and intimidation, we look into the eyes of these young, smiling faces, filled with confidence and hope. Then we regain our confidence and determination out of theirs." And then he looked at the children and said, "Never forget the good faith your teachers planted in you. Never forget your God is with you. Never forget your country, your people, and your school, for we will always be waiting for you. In our Father's house is many rooms. Through our support of global ministry, our room is joined to theirs.